Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. We are here with a hodgepodge with holistic health and healing with myself, the Sonic Shaman, and the one, the only
Dr. K.
Dr. K. Thank you so much for joining us. So the only thing that never changes in life is that everything changes. And we had totally planned to do one thing today. And then as soon as we started talking, we're like, we're going to totally go a different direction because uh, where this came from, just to share a little bit about my weekend. On Friday, we had the Shamanic Journey Circle, and it was led by Seven Glory Sunrise. She's one of the affiliates at Emergence of Being. And the whole theme was like birth and death and rebirth and transformation and reincarnation, all these things. And one of the journeys was like this womb healing. And I had like a profound experience, which could be a whole stream in and of itself. But the very next day, I forget his name now. I have to pronounce his name correctly. I'll get the information here in a moment, and we're going to be picking apart this poem that was just like so fitting. But this whole thing was about how you're not your body, about how we're all just like playing hide and seek with each other, and it was so fitting for the experience because it encapsulated everything that happened Friday night. I wish you were there, Dr. K. It was like I felt like I was in a women's empowerment circle. And I was like a fly on the wall. I'm like, wow, I'm lucky they even let me stay, right? Because it wasn't intended to be a women's empowerment circle, but most of the people there were women. There were people there from out of town, from Colorado. That and the way when we started to share our experiences in the journey, everything just wove together. It was as though we were old friends having, a common experience, which is what all this really is. And so I made a video, and we'll play it here. I'm going to get it loaded up, and and Dr. K, yes.
I can't ever pronounce his name, but he's a great master. And
yeah, I never heard of him until Saturday. Yeah, he just passed. I saw his work for the first time, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so good!" And we're gonna pick apart the poem, but that's what Dr. K said. We should do this today because the energy is so fitting. How was your weekend? While I get that ready, and when you read the poem, like what stirred in your soul, and I'll get these things.
Oh my gosh, well, we're gonna do a hodgepodge today, guys, because we were gonna talk about detox, and we probably still will halfway. But I think this poem is very befitting for what's going on right now. Kind of what I'm seeing, because I'm always surfing. I'm kind of like surfing the universe and being in observance of what's going on and what's needed. And there's so many levels and so many tiers to things and where people are and what everybody kind of is at a different level, needing a different thing sometimes. So I kind of try to hit all of them. But I think some of the common themes with, I've heard of him before, but I haven't really followed him or studied him. However, I have linked on now because I'm sure they will be posting more. And like you, Hank, I went through and I was like, oh, where was I? How come I wasn't following his stuff? Because it's just so beautiful. So he has this wonderful poem, and we're going to pick apart the pieces of it, because what I'm hearing a lot of, and I'm just going to be direct and transparent because it's the doctor in me and I just can't help it sometimes. But there's a lot of people like, oh, so-and-so died. And so-and-so died. And oh my God, I'm so scared of COVID because I might die. And I'm hearing it all over the place. Like I was at Verizon the other day, and again, I'm not discrediting anybody at all. Please be aware and do your due diligence and be healthy. But there was a lady that was all bundled up, and the person behind the counter said, well, come up to the counter because I can't hear you. She's like, oh, no, I don't want to get COVID. I'm isolating myself. The level of fear that is going on as if we are never going to leave this planet. And this poem was just so befitting. And I talked to our friend yesterday, and she's like, all I hear, I got so many calls of so-and-so died, some of COVID, some of other stuff. There are a lot of people transitioning, and people do tend to transition some after the holidays. It tends to be this weird pattern that starts happening like January, February, beginning of March. Bodies transition and souls transition. I shouldn't say bodies, souls transition. Bodies don't transition. We dump those things here. And we forget, we cling on to life, people, places, things, situations so tightly, me included, but we totally forget that our time here is determined, and, we're going to transition into another time, and we forget that we have always been, we are, and we always will be. And for some reason, our brains get attached to, we die. We don't die. We We don't. And we get attached to all these material things here, and we get so entangled in so many levels, and family stuff and holiday stuff and emotional stuff that happens around the holidays, and people go into sabbaticals, and all these things happen, and we get so entangled in our thoughts and our patterns and our minds. And your mind is a very powerful thing, yet that the mind is the essence and connection to the source, and you have control over all of your emotions, believe it or not. So
Okay.
with that
Awesome.
said, maybe we'll pick
And I
apart a
got it
little bit
ready.
of this
So
poem.
let me add it to the stream. And I put this video together. I just took video stock that's available, and then I did a voiceover to read the poem. So this is me reading it, and then afterwards I will get a text version so we can put it up on screen. But I will play this first.
A poem by Thich Nhat Hanh, honoring his life. This body is not me. I am not limited by this body. I am life without boundaries. I have never been born, and I shall never die. Look at the ocean and the sky filled with stars, manifestations from the wondrous true mind. Since before time I have been free. Birth and death are only doors through which we pass, sacred thresholds on our journey. Birth and death are a game of hide and seek, so laugh with me. Hold my hand. Let us say goodbye. Say goodbye to meet again soon. We meet today. We will meet again tomorrow. We will meet at the source every moment. We meet each other in all forms of life.
So I hope you see, like, having just done a whole journey about birth and death and seeing how all of our stories and what we saw in the visions interwove with each other. And we felt so connected as if we had known each other our whole lives, and maybe we have our whole existence perhaps. But this poem encapsulated it all. Like, you come in and there's like this Chinese proverb, or maybe it's not a proverb, but belief system, where there's these like threads of these red yarns, and that it's what connects us to all the people that we are going to meet in this lifetime. It's like our soul tribe, and no matter how entangled that twine becomes through your choices in life, you cannot help but meet those people. And so this whole analogy to hide and seek, it's just like, oh my gosh, it's like, and just think about Anya and myself, foreign exchange student, senior of high school. Like, what are the chances that we would find each other? And like so many other people that serendipitously come into my life, it is like in awe that these things occur. And when you look back, it's like, wow, it's like so coincidental. There's no coincidences about it. Like
There isn't.
we said so many times in that circle as we began to share, you can't make this shit up. And the person from Colorado had a journal she had been writing in for a year with all these profound experiences. And she's showing us, reading from her journal as each person shares, there's like relevant things that she saw like within the last year that wove effortlessly into the group. And it's just like mind blown. How magical is our life?
So magical.
And how many of us aren't showing up for it? And that's like, I did a video over the weekend. I was so inspired by these feelings of soul tribe and community. It's like, all we have to do, show up as you are, just start actually being in the world, be a human being instead of a human doing. And like, how quickly would the world change overnight if we all really started to be instead of do?
Yep. Totally. And Anita Morjani had another wonderful little video, which I prefaced in my webinar. If you guys didn't sign up for my webinar it was this Friday, it's already passed, on detoxing, but the 4 causes of illness are: number 1, repetitive injury. So, maybe you have a job that you're constantly pounding your back and up and down and grinding, or fall. And number 2, toxic overload. And that's kind of what I went over. That was what my webinar was on. You can still sign up for the detox, and that's all about detoxing and helping the physical body. But number 3, which is my most favorite niche and where I really get to work, is, and that's going to be part 2 of my emotional detox, that will be coming up. But stress-induced illnesses. We forget here that this is the overstimulation, tangled up in emotions, resentment, anger, frustration, hatred, fear, anxiety, all those things. Those with time work their way into the body. And this is really, really where I love to get to work and help individuals, because there's always some predilecting factor as to why the body starts to kind of break down. And her 4th was actually end of life. And this is a this is a point in time where she gave the example of sometimes people's situations are so heavy and the soul is getting so heavy and having a real challenge and just can't get this person across, that it becomes too much, and the body just decides that the soul decides it's time to exit, and it's just too much and too heavy. And so we need to then manifest a illness a lot of times to give us a way out, because very few people transition in their sleep. It's wonderful if we do, that's cool, but majority of the time that's not one of those things that happens. So we sometimes manifest an illness as a way out, a cancer. So these were, I mean, this really lumped it together. And I think we are so focused on illness right now and getting tangled up in, I have anxiety, I have depression. And then we carry that as baggage, but you're forgetting you don't need to identify with that. You are way up here. You are a soul. You're creating those things. You really are creating those things. And most people may argue with me and say, but Dr. K, that's so heartless. It's not true. You're saying that my depression is not a disease. It's not. It is not. Everything is in here. With things like stress, I could look at Hank right now and he could be so stressed out. I'd never know. I'd never know, because it's all in here. So we do create our emotions. We do have control over the emotions. It's now being in this life to learn to navigate through that. We talk about the ego, but you have ways and tools, and there's so many avenues to gain a better life. But we're really here to create and enjoy, and just like knock on says it. I make sure he's get his name.
We are here to pukliai, which means to play. Like,
yes,
it's a game of hide and seek. And if you look at kids and they have something go up in their world and they're fighting, 5 seconds later they're playing again. They get over it. Like, that was the feeling of the moment. It's when you start holding on to these things, when we're taught, well, why would you do that with so-and-so? They did such and such. We're taught to hold on to things that don't really matter, and to start fragmenting ourselves out of the moment, to live in the past because so-and-so did this to me, or project into the future. My life doesn't really start till after kindergarten, and then it's after college, and then it's when I get married. You're always like, oh man, that's when my life is going to start. Then you get to retirement, you go look back at high school, you're like, oh man, those were the days. Like, we're always projecting somewhere else and not showing up for the moment.
We aren't. That's, and it's a challenge. And I talked about that. I did a little Facebook video yesterday about some energy sources, but that's what I talked about. Like, one of the things that makes us fatigued and in chronic fatigue is actually emotional stuff, because we are attached to the past. We are attached to our job, a family situation. We're projecting into the future. Oh my God, because if this doesn't happen now, I don't know what I'm going to do. We are so not in the moment. And I'm realizing it is even more challenging now in these days to really work on being in the moment. But when you capture that, time slows down, you're in a perfect calm space, and you're finding peace. And that's really, I think, where a lot of us need to focus, that right here, right now, everything is okay. Right here, right now, you are safe. Right here, right now, you are provided for. And Eckhart Tolle talks about this too. He says, to avoid anxiety, it's one step. So it's like, he's like, I'm in this video now, but before I came here, I was sitting in a room. And before that, I was driving. And before that, I was sitting at home. It's just the next step. Okay. And I'm in that next step. Okay. And then there's the next step, and I'm in that step. And it's like the presence process. You just stay in that moment. And most of us don't know how to do that. I can't say I'm perfectionist at it either, because we live in a world of next. And when we're constantly looking at the clock going, okay, oh my God, next week I don't know how I'm going to do. Your brain is already like so far ahead, and you get tired. You get tired before you even start. So,
truly.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm going to put this up. We could speak to it a bit. This is, well, anyway. Yes, the concept of not identifying with their illness, kind of stepping back. And this really goes to secondary gains, like what do you get out of your illness? And also just a judgment that whatever's showing up in our world is a wrongness. Because the real thing that separates us from the moment and separates us from each other is any judgment. Allowance is just taking what shows up as it is. It doesn't mean doormat. Like, you still make choices based on whatever shows up, but you're not judging whatever shows up as good or bad. You have no expectations of how things show up. You just say, okay, well, this is interesting experience. This is wonderful contrast for the soul. And then you go upon your journey to experience oneself through your actions and your choices. But she was talking about illness and the concept of not identifying with your illness. My entire life has changed when I transcended the identity of bipolar type 2 and I began to heal.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. And how many people say, you know, I have cancer versus like I'm experiencing cancer. I am not the disease.
You are not.
And
Yep.
who was I talking to just recently? Clients hate it when I ask them this question a lot of times. Because they have something going on. I'm like, what do you love about your disease? And they're like, I don't love anything about my disease. I'm like, no, you do. What do you love about it? And they start thinking about it. And a lot of times the answer is, it gives me a reason to say no. Because people don't like saying no. But now if I have this excuse, now I don't have to say no. So now they empower the disease because they're disempowering their choice. Because I'm not a big Bible person, but there's a couple quotes that really resonate. And one of them is, let your yes be yes and your no be no, because anything you say after that, you're empowering a defense against somebody's judgment. Just stand sovereign in your choice of whatever it is you're choosing. But just like the disease, you're empowering something else that is serving a function for you that you don't feel empowered to do on your own.
Yeah, we focus on our diseases so much. And anxiety and depression are one of those things that are just coming to mind. Somebody, and bipolar and all these psychological disorders that the American Medical Association has come out with a label and an ICD-10 code, and now you have this.
Yep.
And it's validating it for people. It is validating, oh yeah, yep, here's your medication, you have a condition. And the medical society validates, and Anita talks about this, and I posted this video on my Facebook page if you guys want to go on my personal Facebook page, because it was so important. She said, please, 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 doctors, don't undo what I'm trying to do. She's really trying to not energize the situations and not energize the conditions and not energize cancer. Because when you go to the doctor and they tell you, oh my God, you only have this much time to live, we don't know if this is going to turn around. Can you imagine the wait? Yeah. Instead of giving people hope, doctors don't give people hope anymore. Yeah. They don't energize the hope. They don't energize, let's see what we can do to make you healthy. All right, so we found you kind of got, your body's kind of doing this thing. You got whatever going on here. Gallbladder issues.
Oh yeah, you have to go ahead and throw my gallbladder under the bus.
But
truly,
the doctor told you, I know nothing else but to do surgery.
Oh yeah. Well,
really? Okay.
So for those of you who didn't know that this happened, I ended up a little bit after Thanksgiving in the hospital with a gallbladder attack. Now, I had rapid weight loss. I went from 215 to 150 in a very short time, less than a year, and that caused some issues. And I ended up in the hospital, and miraculously, between the ultrasound and the MRI, the gallstones they saw were gone because Dr. K was working on me, Heather was working on me, Zane was working on me. I don't know if that's what precipitated it, but all of a sudden they weren't there, and I got discharged with a referral. And I thought it was a referral just to talk to a specialist, not a surgeon. And when I went to the hospital or to the doctor's office, and he's talking about it's just a thickened bile, and I'm like, well, aren't there foods that could help with that? Because I had already researched it. I have this amazing friend who's a functional medicine doctor. She might be right there next to me, and that gave me this book on gallbladder cleansing. I'm reading it, and you could do bile salts, and there's beets and all these things. So I know that there's these options, and so I started asking the doctor, well, if it's only that, instead of removing my organ, I do a diet change and these things. He's like, I don't know about any of that. I went to school to remove your gallbladder.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, I think I'm going to keep mine. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please do. Please do keep your organ systems and your meridians, because every time you guys remove an organ, you're removing a meridian, an energy pattern. Those organs are there for a reason. They have a purpose. So please don't remove them unless you're about to die and you really need to survive. But this is the thing. It's it's an medicine now is energizing conditions. It's energizing. Oh my God, you got this. And this is what you got. And then people walk around with that and don't take that on. So Anita really talks about this, and just please give people more hope. Even if they have cancer, give them hope that they can heal, because you can. You actually can, unless your situation is so tough and it's time for you to move on to the next existence. You can totally heal. I embed that in my people. You can totally heal, but the choice is yours. It's not mine. I'm only the Sherpa. I am only the guide. So you are going to heal yourself, not me.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It all comes down to personal empowerment, and also the desire to actually be better. Some people, they don't want to suffer, but they also don't want to do the work to be healthy. And part of
Yes.
that is that we are taught at a very young age, like we don't feel that we're worth it. Like, well, who am I to live a good life, right? You know, other people deserve it more than me. There's so much scarcity in the world instead of a universe of infinite abundance. But if you really know that, you know, everything is source, everything is sovereign, the whole concept of namaste, may the God in me greet the God in thee for the highest good, right? Like, why not? You know, totally empower yourself to make the choices to be healthy. But like we talked about, we're taught about, you know, focusing that you're not worth it. A lot, not everyone, like not everybody has these situations, but this is like a theme in the collective that is coming up. And then when you do look at the medical part, we talked about it last week more, that we are so focused on not getting sick or the illness that we're not even looking at the health part, and insurance doesn't cover the healthy part. So like
Fascinating.
yeah, it's like the whole thing is designed where it's like when you look at it, you see this huge mountain to health this way, and there's like a nice gentle incline to unhealth this way, and this looks like a lot easier to trek, you know. But the reality is, once you start on that and you really get in touch with your empowered self, it becomes smooth going on ease. It's just that initial inertia to get out of the gravity well that is created from this conditioning. And once you're out there, like it's so much easier to maintain an orbit, you know. Just to use a kind of a space analogy that's coming through for me, like you just blast off, get enough inertia to get out of the muck, and then you continue to use the tools to stay in a much better space, pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We are, very entangled in our conditions, very entangled. And this whole like anxiety, depression thing, who isn't anxious at some point in time? Who isn't depressed at some point in time? Yes, are there dietary things that you can do to improve?
The entire world is in a pandemic where they are in fear, forgetting every available resource, false evidence appearing real. But the truth of it is, COVID is creating opportunities via intuiting divinity.
Yes.
And the soul knows it. And it's like, whoa, I'm feeling excited and ready. Look at that. I played out 4 acronyms in less than a minute. That's a record even for me. And, we got Jennifer tuning in. She's just saying, good morning. I surprised myself with how excited I was to see you and Dr. K doing a live today. It feels like it's been too long. It has been long. Plus, we switched days, and like there's still people going on Friday. Like, where are they? We're on Mondays now. But we're glad people are finding us. We have a lot of people tuning in today. We really appreciate you coming on and supporting the streams. And I do have our websites there. The best place to watch and share replays and things is really the YouTube channel. This is on the Sonic Shaman and the Emergence of Being YouTube channel. But more the Sonic Shaman, I'm kind of not as focused on the other one. But if you can support by sharing and liking and all that stuff, it all helps spread the contagion of consciousness. And if you help another to have that which you seek, you're acknowledging it, you have it, right? This is like a law of attraction thing. So like if you cause another to receive like abundance and enlightenment and more lightness in their life and healing and all that, you are receiving that too. So like it's not just about sharing, it's about embracing the embodiment of being part of the solution on this planet, because I already had this up and I'm going to put it up again. Energy flows where your attention goes. So like, where would you like to contribute your energy in the world? I would hope that it's with streams like us and like, you know, being out there and really, you know, we do this for a lot of fun and just to create lightness. It's not like, you know, we're not like Oprah getting paid or anything like that. Like it's like really about helping the lightness of the humanity and all that and being part of that. And we're really happy you're here. And I'm really excited today. This was like a crazy weekend. It was so good. So I wish I could play my other video, but like it would get taken down because of copyright, because it has the Rocky song. But if you want to watch my TikTok, I did this whole, it's really a fun little video, but it's only on TikTok because it has like the little, the Rocky Balboa song, but it's like me with this thing called a man plow, like running back and forth, like plowing the driveway. It was like 5 minutes or less. And it's like really like with tools, to bring it back to our topic today, with tools like these things that we're sharing and the poem and these concepts, things become easier. It becomes easier to get out of that gravity well, and then it becomes smooth going on ease.
It does. It can totally be easy. What are you energizing? Look at your life. What are you energizing and thinking of over and over and over? The thoughts that we have are pretty much the same thoughts we have every day. It's what is your biggest kind of dilemma that you keep energizing over and over and over? because we have a common theme that we think about. We have something that we're working on, or we desire, or we're worried about or fearing. So what is you're energizing?
Well, right now I'm energizing my phone that I forgot to turn off. Sorry, everyone.
That's a good idea. I had a client who came to one of our other pranic healing clinics that we do, and she just kept, we were doing healing on her. She just kept thinking over and over, like, well, the doctor told me this, and a naturopath told me that don't take a steroid no matter what, if it's life or death. And she kept ruminating on it. And I'm like, I can't take that away from you. You can keep pulling it back if you want in your head. Why are you taking that on? Why? Avoid taking that on. Using, in this case, it's appropriate. But why do you continue taking it on? And one of my niches is I really can see into the reasons somebody's holding on to an illness and what started it and what we're energizing and what we're creating. What's the chaos behind it? That's where I love to work. So really, yes, the body needs to be helped along. It's not a matter of, you just don't take care of yourself and you let that go. However, if you surf, and I always say it's like a plane, ride above your condition, look down below and be like, oh, okay, we got this little thing going on down there, but I am so much bigger. I am so much greater. I am a soul. I am a being of energy. And eventually it's like a snake. When a snake, grows, it kind of leaves its skin behind. When we pass, we come out, we leave all this negativity behind, and the soul moves on, love and light, and we feel pure peace and joy because we leave that snake skin down here on the earth. We leave the body. So we leave all that negativity and the ego down here.
Now, I know we wanted to pick apart the poem. Do you want to go through it one more time and see if anything else sparks for us to really dive in? I'm going to pull it up on here this time.
Okay, yeah. I was going to say, do you have the words?
I do. I was all sneaky while I was playing. I get this ready. But he says, and feel free to stop me if you feel like a talking point's like right there. This body is not me. I am not limited by this body. I am life without without boundaries. I'm going to say without possibilities. I am life full of infinite possibilities. I have never been born, and I shall never die. Look at the ocean and the sky filled with stars, manifestations from my wondrous true mind. Since before time, I have been free. Birth and death are only doors through which we pass. Sacred thresholds on our journey. Birth and death are a game of hide and seek. So laugh with me. Hold my hand. Let us say goodbye. Say goodbye to meet again soon. We meet today. We will meet again tomorrow. We will meet again. We will meet at the source every moment. We meet each other in all forms of life.
That's just absolutely beautiful. Key points there is just, you're not your body. You are not your body. And that's something I continue working on, because I grasp it for a moment, but then you get pulled back into the 3D world, because then it's okay, back to work, back to my computer, and then we lose sight of that. It's, I think, something that I ruminate on and I energize now, to really grasp that interconnection to source and understanding that this is just a vehicle. This is just something we use to move around, to speak, to relate our feelings, because when we transition to the next plane of existence, we are just energy, and energy can't talk. It needs a body to create and to show itself, so to speak. So that's what we really are. And think about, it says all the miracles of the wondrous mind. We've created everything in this world. Everything comes from here. Somebody said a chair would be good to sit on. We create a chair. Somebody said a skyscraper would be fun to create. Somebody creates a skyscraper. A computer, a phone, all these things came from here. How powerful is that? It's not tangible. It's not a thing that you can pick up and move around. It's not seen. And that's very difficult for people. So it's a difficult thing for the mind to grasp. And so is anxiety, and so are conditions. It's just a lot of stuff that's originating and getting lodged in the system.
The thing is, it's a lot of head tripping.
We
take raw data, like here's the experience, and then through the lenses that we're taught to look at the world through, everything sucks, right? And we just see like the worst of things, but really it's just data. And when you take off the filters that makes you look at it askew, it really isn't that big of a deal. We're taught to make it a big deal and empower these places where we are separating and fragmenting ourselves. And on the whole thing about we created everything in terms of the Hatun Uma, the higher mind, the soul mind, or the universal mind, the cosmic lodi, you would call it in like esoteric terms. Even like that's why I put that galaxy bursting out and the stars and everything. It's like we, the collective mind, has created all of reality, not just the earth. It's like really crazy. But it also shows you like how important it is to get a handle on your thoughts.
Yeah.
And like where
Yes.
are you putting your attention? Where are you thinking? Where are you stewing? Where are you being grateful? And like focusing on the things, like you're not ignoring the bad, like you're in allowance, like don't pretend that stuff, and I'm using bad in quotation marks here, you're not like ignoring it, like pretending it doesn't exist. You're recognizing it for the polarity that it truly be, to have contrast for the soul, because in the totality of all there is, to know oneself, you have to have perceived opposites. And that's what this world is about. We're not supposed to ignore the bad. We're supposed to be an allowance of it and then choose what we would like to create in our own experience. It's the playground of possibility.
Absolutely. And from the healthcare standpoint, I think the healthcare system is breaking. This is the benefit,
Yeah.
I think. I'm going to
see
this.
Like a stick is like being bent out of knee, and you hear it, and it's like it's almost going. It's like just teetering, just shattering.
I think COVID is creating a lot of that, and I don't see that as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing, because people are not getting answers. We are not working concomitantly with the mind and creating and enforcing positivity rather than searching always for the heaviness of the problem. And so I think a lot of people are not getting answers from their doctors right now, and the doctors don't know what to do. And the healthcare system it's chaos. It's a disaster right now. I think
there's some good practitioners over here.
We need
and
more.
Myself. Yeah.
We need more of that, and using things in a comprehensive state of using all of these things, because you are not the illness. And so I really see things breaking, but yet restructuring in the future. That's my intuitive feeling of where this is going. I'm just not sure how long that process is going to take.
And I love this comment. And this is like just to say, like, we all have gotten to the points in our life in different ways. And because of that, sometimes we need different tools and different experiences to unwind. It all really comes down to choice and being empowered. But like, how do we get there to that place? But she was just saying, accepting that we can all need a different tool for the same goal. A screwdriver serves a defined purpose, but may need a flathead, a Phillips head, or a power drill to fulfill said purpose. I love this analogy. There are so many tools and possibilities in healing, and talks like this help inspire this individual journey. Thank you. Hooray for finding our unique tools.
Yes. Yay. Thank you, Brianne. Yeah. Everybody's, got a different avenue. What resonates with one person isn't going to resonate with another. God knows there's things I've tried way back in my past 20 years ago. They were like, they were okay for a while. And I'm like, I think I'm outgrowing this. And I even saw, like, my friend was she was a psychologist, but she did hypnotherapy, and I had her do a past life regression, and it worked. I was all fascinating, but you will find the path that resonates with you. You'll feel it's like you sink in. It's like, okay, oh yeah, this makes sense. And then you may come across things or read things or hear things. It's like, maybe you're not ready to hear that in that format. Maybe that's not the right tool for you at this time. Maybe you need to find a different tool. And we're here to support all of that. And however you get there, so long as you get there, is why Hank and I and all of our light workers are here to help the other souls get there. And what greater gift is that than to help? Or even if we create a little spark, a little something that goes, oh, wait, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That you never thought about. And that opens a whole door. Like, I want to hear more. I think that sounds interesting. So this is the time for that now. We are at the crux of a lot of awakening, a lot of weird woo things that maybe you've never heard of before, but they are, however, they are, I'm not using the word but anymore. I'm really
they're fun woo-woo things. I won't give you that hard of a time. Well, I do kind of.
I like the word however and yet much better than but.
And like but has its place. Like, but linguistically negates everything you set up to this point. So if here's an example. Dr. K, your hair looks lovely today, but do I really like your hair? No. No, I really do though. Your hair's great. But that's like an example of like if someone says, I really like that dress, but I really like what you did with the website, but like they're like already negating, they really aren't happy with what you did and they have a point of view about it. But rather than just saying, hey, could we change this? Now they already feel the need to like soften it or, fluff it up a little bit, like try to fluff and buff you before they smack you down,
Yeah.
But it also is a good tool. You can use it intentionally for developing things. Like Dr. K, I don't know why I'm saying this to you, but I have just gotten my logical mind out of the way and allowed my intuitive mind to start talking. So it can be a way to get in touch with your intuition if you want to give a reading or get like, some insights. I don't know why I'm saying this, but you know exactly why you're saying it because you're an infinite being that knows everything.
You do. And the more you tap into that, the easier life will become. The easier you'll be able to transfer any pain. It's just a thing in the body. And when you're able to look down on it and not into it and energize it, I think it'll become easier. And you can do that. You can totally do that. So does the body need help sometimes? Yes. So I ran a webinar last Friday on the importance of the liver, gallbladder, and gut.
Wow. I'm getting laid on her. This is revenge for the whole butt comment, but I like your hair. I know.
You can use me. I can't help it. But I am going to talk about that. So I'm running an actual detox course that starts on the 31st. And I think Hank has the link.
Even though I was just grabbing it.
The Bitly
no, I got the Bitly. Like Facebook is weird. Like if you try to copy and paste something from Facebook, it wants to add like all this tracking information, and it's really annoying sometimes. I don't like it. I mean, it's a transparent once people click, but it is like a problem. But here is a link.
Did not know that.
Yeah, because they want to get credit for the referral, so they add like all this reference stuff afterwards, and
bizarre.
So I just added it to that, and let me make a banner. So it's in the comments, but if you're watching on Twitch or Twitter, I don't think you can see it. So you can pause the screen, and you can just this is a mini URL. So this will take you to a MailChimp landing page that has the information on her detox program. So you have that, but it is in the comments too, but you can pause the video, type it in if you need to. And one thing I also want to mention about healing's not always a cure, but I love this acronym because I got to fit another one in. HEAL equals helping everyone appreciate life.
Yes, I love
that. Yeah, sometimes it's just a change, a softening of a point of view. And though that might not bring you immediately to your end journey, your destination, because there is no destination, it is only the journey. So like, don't think you're going anywhere. Like you're already there. It's just like, how much are you willing to show up is really the question in any given moment. Anyhow, helping everyone appreciate life is a wonderful tool to get the healer out of the mindset that, the only acceptable result is a complete transformation, total restoration to perfection, because there's no such thing as perfection. It's a trap. But anyhow.
Oh, wow. Perfection's my middle name. Guys, I'm being bold, but that's something I'm working on because it's just how I've been brought up. Working on we are all working on things. However,
well, I hope I didn't stir you up too much there.
I'm vulnerable. I know what my job is. I know where I have my own things and my own journey to work on here while I help others. But we're just cleaning up the body. We're cleaning up the gut, cleaning out the liver, because those are the most important organs in your system. Liver size of a football, gut, what the intestines look like. If those two aren't running on 4 cylinders, you're going to have pain, you're going to have arthritis, you're going to have brain fog, fatigue, chronic fatigue, insomnia, all those. I say almost everything, like 90% of conditions funnel down to these 2 organs, and them being overloaded and overtoxic, or like, Hank's case, sometimes when you lose weight really fast, all that, fat that's trying to get out of the body has a tough time.
Know what it was energetically though, because after I was out of the hospital, I had bought, I do tarot readings too, and I had bought a Thoth deck, and I always forget to bring my decks back and forth from home to my office, and I had a mini one, and I was just shuffling all the cards. First time I ever used it, I'm like, Spirit, what's really up with my gallbladder? And I flipped a card, and it was a card that's not even in the deck. It was like an extra card. I didn't even know it was in there. And it was the hexaclum, which is a very specific hexagram about merging the divine masculine and feminine. And then I meditated on it even more so. And like part of the message from Spirit was that you have spent like the last year, I like a year ago, I had my programs up on my website and everything. I had never mentioned it one time. I did all this stuff to be able to step into like actually really working with people like way more in depth. And then it's like, huh, they'll find it if they're called to it. Like I never once brought it up. And so Spirit's like, hey, dum dum. Like you do all this stuff. Like 2 years ago, you started Patreon, you never mention it. Like so, I started actually at my email saying, "Hey, I have this stuff." And I've been getting like a lot more people. It's like, oh, like it's weird how that works. So it's kind of like you have put out all this stuff to the universe, but you have not opened the door to receive, and it created a buildup of energy, which caused the issue with the gallbladder.
Energy has to flow.
Yeah,
And if
yeah,
you're at one end or the other and you're not in receptivity, which we
yeah.
talk about so much, yet Hank
I
was,
know.
realizing that's something that has to open up. And kudos to Hank for doing that.
Oh, it was
You
it's rough though, and
I
then
know. Yeah.
it's also like right at that same time, like I get like a possible new office space, which I'm going to be relocating my office in the very near future. I'm not sure if it's going to happen in March or if it's going to be a little bit later because it's actually being built right now. And so it's like really exciting, and I'll still have space for classes. It's just a much more appropriate space for the work that I do. And it's just going to be great. I'm very excited. But while we were talking about things, just one thing I want to bring up too that's happening this Saturday. I've just posted the link in comments. I have a workshop called As I Forgive Me. It is a shadow integration workshop. And shadow is not always about I need to enlighten it. Sometimes you do have these aspects of you that you just need to be an allowance of. And once you don't resist it, you have this tendency or this one thing about you, you then aren't enslaved by it. Like when you deny part of yourself, it shows up in your shadow projections of what you see in other people. Once you're an allowance of it, you can just choose different. It's like if you're a snake in the grass, be a snake in the grass. Don't judge yourself for being a snake in the grass. But once you are an allowance of that, now you have a lot more freedom of choosing who you truly be in the world and not judging yourself. So that's my workshop coming up, and I really am anxious to talk with you, Dr. K, and see how we can take something like this and weave it in with detoxing, because it really is about the whole body and being like working together. And it's like we all have our niches, but when we start combining our talents, creating for ourselves and then with each other, like wow, like
Totally.
what could we create?
So good. So good. And self-forgiveness is key because we tend to work on forgiving others, and there's so many layers. Just when you think you've forgiven somebody else, there's another layer.
Yeah, well, in
It's like,
truth,
oh, I thought
there's nothing to
did that
forgive because it's
already.
all raw experience. Like
It
we are
is.
taught to judge it all. There's no
Yeah.
good or bad. There is the polarity of what we perceive as good and bad. Both are true, but that is strictly for a contextual experience. It's really a gradient. Like in hermetics, it's like it's not really an opposite. It's a gradient. And so like love and hate, it's the same thing, except it's on two opposite sides of a spectrum, but they're really the same thing. It's a gradient of the same energy. So we have these apparent opposites, but they're really the similar energies, and all it is for you as a soul, in the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. How could you possibly know who and what you truly be if there was nothing other than you? And so it's these perceived differences that gives us relationship, but once you get that down, now you can move into creationship, like which is what Dr. K and I do.
And we beat ourselves up so much.
Yeah, we're silly people.
We are silly people, aren't we?
We're
Silly.
very silly, and it's so easy once you get it. It is like you just start showing up, and things start to move and change and shift, and things get more possible. And then sometimes something comes up, and then it's like when something comes up after you have a little bit of momentum, like that gravity well starts pulling you back because you got triggered or something, and you start projecting into the past, and you start judging yourself for not getting it right, and then you start crashing into the atmosphere where no, let me use my tools and pull myself up, and now let's heal within ourselves what's creating that gravity well that's starting to pull me back. And that all comes down to never go on autopilot. And I gave this example with my gallbladder too. Like I was so good at listening to my body, right? I was, went plant-based and did these things. And then in February, my body's like, no more gluten. So I cut gluten out. The weight starts melting off. I stopped listening. I was good. I was just doing so well without having to focus on anything. I wasn't listening to my body saying, hey, you're eating a lot of fat. Maybe not so many avocados. Maybe not this, maybe not that. I started having autopilot with where things were working in my life. But it's like you got to stay present all the time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. Where if you get comfortable and you get compliant, into the gravity well you go.
Yep, it's all about awareness. And thanks for bringing that little key point up too, a little medical piece. Even we think avocado and nuts and all those things are good things, and they are. However, if your liver's having a hard time, it's going to have a hard time even with avocado or olive oils or all those things that are good because they're still fats. So yeah, but totally forgiving yourself is something we don't work on. So that's going to be an amazing course, Hank. I think that's just,
it is. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah,
totally. Embracing your evil self is like you have to be in allowance with the totality of you, and once you have that, you can choose anything. But as long as you resist anything of you, that one part you're resisting is going to keep popping up and just like whapping you until like you're really in allowance of it.
And we don't recognize it half of the time.
No, we don't, because we don't want to admit that we have that to begin with. It's like, well, that's not mine. That's this jerk over here. But the only reason we're noticing them being a jerk is because guess who's the jerk? Oh my gosh. And like, once you realize that you can be a jerk, or I was sitting, holding some space for some friends and things. And like, I, had the conversation like, yeah, there's this one dude, his name's Asshole Hank. And if you get close enough to him, you get to meet him a lot.
Wow.
And it's like, you get like people that are closest to you, when they get close to these wounds, you shadow project on those closest to you like crazy. And that's why people split up, or friendships just crash and burn. Like they go good for a certain time. And I've had this experience multiple times recently, like where there's people that are like, starting to get into the friend zone. It's just like, oh no, let's set off an atom bomb of shadow projection and chase everybody away and that kinds of stuff. It's really bizarre that we do these things. I want to bring this up too. Brianna was saying she needed to hear that. They'll find it if they're called light workers. Thanks. And then Mary Lee Boswetter was saying, yes, accepting and being whole. So important. And Mark has to bring back an element of humor, and we're kind of wrapping up soon, so I want to bring this up. He says, "Is eating liver good for your liver?" Like this brings up the whole like cannibalistic type of thing.
It can be, just not polar bear livers.
Not polar bear livers?
No, in Eskimos
you just
actually.
Me. I never thought about polar bear livers. Poor polar bear. Like, what's up? Who's eating polar bear livers?
Eskimos, they won't eat those because they're toxic, because the liver actually holds almost 2 years of vitamin A. So the polar bear livers are so big and so full of vitamin A that's one body part they won't eat from there, because it will actually cause toxicity in the body because it's just too much.
Things you never know. I don't think I ever have to worry about having that come up in my experience.
No. But it could help as a glandular. But yeah, my goal is, if we detox the body, if you help the body with the physical things, because sugar and all that kind of stuff inflames the emotion. So if you already got that anxiety thing going on or whatever else, and then you're feeding it with more sugar and more poor food, then where you're at a level of a 5 or 6, you're going to amp that up to a level of a 10 because of the things that you're eating. So let's clean that out, see what's underneath. And then part 2 is going to be the emotional detox. And maybe we'll tell you, and Hank, somehow find a way to forgive self, forgive others, really do the inner work, because you really are here to do the inner work and play and enjoy life. Really, that's what it's all about.
Really, I look at like emotions are like the frozen parts, like where you had something going on and you were taught not to feel, or you're taught that it wasn't right, and you kind of freeze it and you lock it in cellular memory. Now you have a feeling, something in the moment coming up that resonates with something you didn't deal with, and now it kind of explodes out. So like by going through and taking off the judgment of past experience, now in the moment when you have feeling, you're just feeling, but it's not like stirring up these stagnant pools of energy that have just been sitting, and now you agitated them, and now something that maybe was a 1% intensity level feels like a 98% intensity level. And on top of that, how many other people's emotions, frozen stagnant pools of energy and feelings, are you aware of? So like, a lot of times when this stuff happens, like a lot of it's not yours. You're picking up, because we're that aware of everything around us. You are probably all aware of the entirety of the world, which is why we have so much anxiety because of COVID.
Yeah, totally. And so it's all this stuff. And I think the other thing I'm hearing is some people may not be ready to hear that at that level, or they're only going to hear a small portion of it. Wherever you are is where you are meant to be right now. And you're going to navigate as you do. And I think some people are just not waking up, because some of us here are like, oh yeah, we get it. But then you got your neighbor that's just like screaming at everybody. It's like, I wish you would just understand that that person might not be
Yeah.
ready for that yet.
You know,
So
and I haven't seen the new Matrix movie, so nobody comments spoilers or anything. But it's kind of like the ones that I did see. You know, ignorance is bliss, and like really, when you start to wake up, it might feel like a lot of work, and it might be nicer to just like pretend that you don't know more than you know. But once you like you get out of that atmosphere, when you blast off through that pocket of heaviness, things do become way more ease, and there's way more possibility. We're just conditioned to rather, you know, misery likes company. Don't leave, stay back here where we're miserable. Like, you know, like as you start, like you're afraid of losing friends and family and who's going to drop. And there's like so many considerations. But kind of like in the energy of wrapping up, like being the space of like, what would really be an honoring of the you came to be? And if you follow that, that would be the greatest guiding compass to where you're going in this world.
yeah, I'm hearing we need to somehow create something to help people and be in their best and authentic selves and be in creativity versus the mundane 8 to 5 job. And it's okay if you have that. However, on the side, what could you create that's fun, that lifts you up, that makes you happy?
And create for you first, and then create with people second. Because if you're trying to create for someone else before yourself, it will always it won't always, I don't want to say always. It's more likely not going to be as fulfilling as you would like, because you know it's just different than if you're coming from a place where you are self-fulfilling your path, and now because your path and someone else's path are on similar trajectories, that you kind of join forces and you're creating with each other for yourself. And that is like a way different energy. And in my one video I said that is the energy that takes us and slingshots humanity from the kingdom of me to the kingdom of we, because you're being self first, and then you're working together with everyone to create greater. And that is like, you know, that you're not being a slave to anyone, you're just being true to your own being then.
Yeah, and we're going to enter this world alone, and we're going to leave alone. And I say that with a grain of salt.
Oh, we're never really alone.
We're not alone at all. However, we have this thing like we need to follow somebody else.
Right.
It really is your journey here. And yes, everybody's a contributor. And yes, we are all in the collective consciousness, and we are all one. But our bodies are here to, you know, our souls are all here to learn some sort of journey. We are part of the whole, learning our own thing.
Oh,
That's the best way I can describe it.
And something piggying on the energy of you're alone. Like when you come into this world, your breath is the first and last possession that you take in this life, or that you have in this life, and that breath is only on you. And everything in between those two things is just you choosing who you're going to be. And like really like keep your sovereignty. Keep your sovereignty. What would it take? And not to give your power away to other people, places, and things, and really
That's a whole other topic.
We're clearly going to have a 10-part series on this. So like, but truly start today. How could you be and express more of you today than any day before? And ask that every day. And if you walk away with nothing more from our talk today, like that one thing would be the thing that starts this upward spiral possibility. If you're truly asking it and you're not just saying it, because there's a difference between saying something and truly having it being, being embodied while you're saying it, like meaning it and feeling it. You want to be in the space of what will this create if I truly do this? Be that energy. And that's where like attracts like. You're calling to yourself. Oh my God. And be passionate about being passionate, and like just start riding that wave to yourself.
Oh, massive expansion there.
Oh,
and you'll
gosh,
feel it. It's just so good. It's so good.
I
hope
might
there
say
are
this is one of my favorite
others.
conversations we've had. Wow. I'm just like,
So many golden nuggets.
I know.
Does anybody have any questions? We're
Yeah.
just yabbered.
I know we are yabbering. Thank you
We get
for those of
excited,
you who made
forgive us.
comments and contributed to the stream. We thank you very much for participating. If you do have any questions, now I know Mark, he always will have things. I'll put his comment up while we see if we have something else. He says, I have a huge misery party. We actually have a great time. But then I would say there, when you have something like that though, and you think that you're, because I can speak from personal experience, I thought my body felt good and I thought I was doing really great. And then I had a different experience that from the contextual field from this other experience, I realized, oh my gosh, I felt like crap and I didn't even know. And so in the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. So what would it take to always demand greater for yourself, and to demand like whatever you think is good? Like, well, I'd love to experience even grander and greater and more glorious and more peaceful and joyful things in my life, and the universe delivers. So
Yeah.
Yep.
If anybody has any
I
final
don't see
comments,
any questions unless they're typing feverishly. But if you have questions, and we're about to play the outro video or whatnot, let's just please comment even afterwards, and make sure you tag myself or Dr. K if it's on Facebook. If it's on the YouTube channel, I get notifications really easily, but we're streaming to so many Facebook places. It's really hard to keep up with the comments if we're not tagged. So please, if you do make a comment on anything on Facebook on the replay, please tag it. And Mark just saying, great show. Thank you, Mark. I'm so glad I'm so glad you're out of jail, man, and you can like listen to this again. This is wonderful. You're such a, you're really raising the bar since you've been back. See, I did a prison joke there, Mark, and he didn't really go to prison. He always used that as an excuse for not listening to us.
I think we're going to do a segment on excusitis.
Ooh, I like that.
I didn't coin that term. One of my mentors just did this morning, but I thought, damn, that's really good. Excusitis.
Yeah,
And how to get rid of it.
The whole science of how to blame everything else for not choosing what you want to choose. Cool.
And it comes in, that's going to be another topic.
Awesome. Well, on that note, thank you everybody for showing up. Please share, like the video. Energy flows where your attention goes. What contribution could you be to us and to humanity? And until next time, we will catch you later. Stay aware. Bye, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.